So for design number 4, this is inspired by looking out of the window and seeing the snow falling. So if you'd like to join me over on the workbench, and I'll show you in detail how that one is made. So the cake that I'm going to create now is a Christmas window. So I'm going to roll out some Mexican paste. So we'll roll this so it's just big enough for the window. And I'm going to use the lattice cutter. So you can have a window frame which you can have all 6 panels, so it gives you a bigger window. On this occasion I'm just going to use the 4. So if I pop that over here, so I can cut out the piece of the window frame itself, and we'll just clean that edge and take out those bits there. Is thinking how many ways that you can use this idea to make different things. So that's when I came up with the window idea. So we just tap that a little bit on the board so we can get the window frame cut out. So if I just use the palette knife there, I'm just going to trim off there and along the top edge like that. Just make sure that's clean, and then along the bottom of the window as well. So just cutting along there, just make sure I've got a nice tidy edge. And then this is going to go on my board just so that it can become plastic hard. So for the background behind the window, I've got some navy modelling paste which I'm just rolling out with a little bit of the Trex shortening work into it onto my board like that. And then I want to make sure that this is actually not going to move, because I'm then going to take the sequin stencil I've got and pop that over the paste so I can emboss down, so making sure I roll firmly over this so the stencil actually sticks, and then just use a little bit of Trex over the top, and then I'm going to brush over with some Super Pearl white powder. So I want to get the effect of the snow falling behind the window. So this stencil works just right for that. Could also actually make it into presents. So just cut out different shapes from them and then have flat presents. So again, thinking many different ways how you can actually use it. So just take your piece of kitchen paper like that to remove the surplus, and then peel off your stencil. So you've got your falling snow. And then if I measure the window frame over here, it's 5 centimeters wide by 5 centimeters wide. So if I'm just going to cut a straight line first like that, and do the same along the bottom. Now you could use this to make presents, so you could then cut that into a square and then put some red ribbon across the some paste so that you've got a red ribbon across there. So I'm just going to pop that on my board a moment, so I'm sure we'll find a use for it. I'll just pop that there for a moment. So I can lift the window frame over the top like that. and just make sure you're happy with the frame size. Let's just move those pieces out of the way. So there's our window, and I'm going to just pop that to one side so I can get ready for the curtains. So to make the curtains, I'm just going to roll out some, so I can then lift that and see what size we have to measure our curtains for. So if we go for 7 centimeters by 2, and now we cut our pair of curtains 2 centimeters wide. Just move that paste there. Trim that along the bottom, and then just move that to one side. And then if we use our veining tool, just want to make a mark along the top for the pleats. And then if we use our modelling tool like that, we can just mark that down. And then for the curtains themselves, if we just draw the line down like that, give them some gather, and at the bottom there. And then if we bring our window over, just use a little bit of water on there, so they will stick, or a bit of Tylo's glue, and then the curtains will go on that. And do the same on the other one. Use our modelling tool just to push that down onto the window frame, and a little bit more indentation across the top. And just lift those forward a little bit, like that. Now I'm going to let that firm up on the board before I start the next stage. So I want to make some decorations for the Christmas tree, and I'm going to use the stencil again. So I've got some royal icing here, which I'm just rubbing down, and I'm just going to take a little bit of shortening and put this onto the piece of run out film. And this is just a little bit of the tracks. So I'm going to place the stencil on the top, and then just take the royal icing and screed this over. So just take that backwards and forwards like that. So you've got a thin coating, a little bit more there. Just try and keep it off the edge of the stencil itself. And you can do these in white and then colour them up with different luster colours. So this one's going to be done like that. And then if you just take your palette knife and lift the corner, you've got your decorations there ready. So we're going to let those dry, and this is one that I did earlier. So what we need to do, I'm just going to take some gold powder and then take a little bit of the powder and sprinkle it over the top like that. So you can start to brush this into the icing, you're going to find that they will start to move away from the paper because they're dry now. But let them dry and you'll find them that they just start to lift away, and then just work that with your brush. And then finally, if you just take your palette knife like that, scrape those off, and these make a really nice decorative effect for lots of different things. So I'm just going to work that through, and then when you are happy with the colour added, okay, what you can do is get just a little tea strainer and sieve the surplus powder away from the from the sequins, and then pop them into a pot like this. Now I've got some white ones in there I've done, but as I said, you can use any colour of luster powder to colour them up. So to make the Christmas trees, some nice green Mexican paste rolling out. So roll that about just over 1 millimetre in thickness. A little bit of Trex on the Christmas tree cutter, so we can cut 2 of those. So nice and clean, take that away, and then just clean over with a palette knife, and then use your tool just so that we can take those out. So we want to get 2 of those cut. So with those 2 now cut, we need to make the trunk of the tree. So just taking a cocktail stick and some brown paste, roll that into a sausage shape like that. So we can then thread the cocktail stick down through the paste like that, and then just pinch it on the bottom, and then if we just pull it and stretch it and twist it as we pull the paste down the cocktail stick or toothpick, and then just hold that bit at the bottom there, and I'm just twisting that as we pull that down. And then if you just roll that on your board, so we can then make that come to a point there, and trim off just a little bit at the bottom. So we've got our tree trunk ready to attach to the Christmas tree when it's dry. So we need to shape just a small ball of red paste. This is for the bucket the Christmas tree is going to go into, and then just make a hole in that bottom bit there. A small amount of water just to stick the 2 together, and then that's the tree trunk which is dry, so that's going to go in there like so. And then if we use just the veining tool, you can just mark the top of the bucket, tub, and then for the Christmas trees, just going to use a little bit of clear alcohol and then some white powder. This is like a snowflake powder. So I just want to paint a little bit of snow on the boughs of the trees, just to give them a little bit of a festive look. So not too much. And then on the other side as well, on that one. And then if we turn the tree over and then use a little bit of the royal icing. If you haven't got royal icing, what you can do is mix some of the paste down with some water to make a gunge, and that will work the same. So I'm going to lift that one on there and then pipe another little bit on the top. And then sandwich those two together. So we've got our Christmas tree. So now to put the decoration on the Christmas tree. So I'm just going to pop that onto a bit of paper. Then use some Tylose glue. So we can brush the Tylose glue where we want the decorations to go. So let's put them there. So with the sequins that we made out of royal icing, just sprinkle those over the top where you want them to go. And then if you just use a dry brush, just so that you can push them down a little bit before you shake it off. And then if you just lift that up, you can tap your tree, and then any of the sequins that you don't want to or want a stick to the Tylose glue, and then we're going to pop that tree to one side. So I'm now going to make the presents. So this is some modelling paste which I've coloured up in some nice festive colours, and what I'm going to do is start off with the central one. Now just take the paste and roll it into a ball, so it's very much the same shape as what you want to actually take the impression from, and then push this down with your fingers like that into that section part of the mould. Then I'm going to use a palette knife just to ease it out to where the next present starts. And if I turn that around there, you can see I just want to cut a little bit of the paste away there, so I can use the palette knife like that to push up against as I shape the present, so then I can get the next colour in. So really pushing down like that so we can get the indentation we want. So we'll do the square present here. So again, rolling that so it's nice and soft and pliable. Let's take off a little bit more. So that's going to go down into the mould. Now what I'm doing now is just pushing it so the two bits of paste will join, and again using the palette knife. Also, which I find useful, is a little Dresden tool there, so you can actually push the paste down into the design, and then I'm going to do this one here. So again, if you need to put a little bit of the Trex into the paste, so roll it so all the joins are at the back, and then we've got an idea of how much paste that we actually want to go into the mould. So I'll just take that bit off there and work it in. Use the palette knife there so you can push it down. If you need to trim off any, just keep the palette knife flat like that. Push that down as we go, working from the outside to the inside. Then we've got that little one on the corner. So again, making sure we've got the paste shaped more or less to the present size itself. And then take that bit off, and then gently make sure you've got those bits of paste merging together, because when we turn them out we want them to join. So we've got a set of 4 presents. Now I've made 4 of these to go round the cake. So if we just flex the mould like that, and then just ease out your presents. A little bit of water needed just on that little bit there. So once you've got your presents shaped like this, you see I've prepared some more here, and I've put them on the lid of an ice cream container so that I can make them ready to go onto the side of the cake, and also as well they'll stay fresh until you're actually ready to put them on. And then with the individual presents, you can then use the mould like this to make some separate ones. So just take your paste like that if you want to make a square present like that. Just work the paste in, then push it up against your palette knife, and then flex that one out. And I've done the same with this part of the mould here, and again on that one I didn't want the full present, so I've only used part of it, so it's like that. So we've got all our presents made, so I'm just going to mix a little bit of the gold powder with some alcohol. So now it's time to put it all together. So with the window, I'm just going to put a little bit of royal icing on the top of the cake, so I can lift that over. And then the Christmas tree, just manoeuvre that one into place there. So again, a little bit of royal icing underneath, so that will sit on there. And now to put the presents around the side, so I'm going to start at the front there, so a little bit of royal icing, and then take the first lot of presents and push those on. So put a little bit more icing behind the back of each one, and just push those into place. A bit more there. Make sure that they are attached to your cake. if you get any icing that comes around the side, then you can just use a paintbrush, damp one here. But this is where I'm going to put all of those smaller presents. So they will go in like that. The ones that I've made individually on that bit there. Because what I think I'll do afterwards is put a bit more of the icing around the bottom so it looks like snow. So I'm just going to attach the single presents to the top of the cake. Just give them a little bit of an angle. It's a bit more icing, I think. And then I've just continued this around the bottom of the cake there and filled in any of the little gaps with the single presents. So what I've done is prepared a little tag out of Mexican paste and allowed that to dry, and just cut a hole in there with a piping tube and then written over the top with an edible pen. So you can just make that a little bit bigger. Yes. So I'm just going to attach the single presents to the top of the cake. Just give them a little bit of an angle. It's a bit more icing, I think. And then I've just continued this around the bottom of the cake there and filled in any of the little gaps with the single presents. So I think that's our Christmas scene done on the top. One of the other things I really wanted to add to this one, because I think it will just tie it all in nicely, is some more icicles. So I'm just going to do those down the edge of the cake. And you can see there on the top I actually iced it. So it was a blue disc on the top bit and then just the white down the side. And just keeping those two ends moist as I go round, just to bring them down like that. Just pulling them down, creating our icicles. Just catch it up on the top and then we can pull that down to the bottom. So just bringing those two ends together and our icicles melting down the side of the cake. So we just put a little bit of icing on the top so we can attach our little tag. So that's our fourth design finished, our snow is falling. So all I need to do now is to add the ribbon onto the 4 cakes. I hope you've all enjoyed watching me create the designs for you. Hopefully that you'll be inspired and maybe you'd like to make your own Christmas cake for your special occasion. There's nothing more for me to say but wish you all a very happy Christmas and looking forward to a safe and happy new year. So it's bye from me and see you again soon.